This is the Fortnightly Frontier podcast, but this is the Frontier feature, and today...
Welcome to the Fortnightly Frontier. The Fortnightly Frontier. The Fortnightly Frontier, baby.
Welcome.
Welcome, my friends, to the Fortnightly Frontier.
I think I made the wrong decision not bringing alcohol.
We're so pleased you could make it.
Oh, God. I'm out of breath.
Well, I have to say that has to be the best intro we've had so far.
Okay.
Pretty hard to top. Pretty hard to top. Okay. You okay,
All right.
George?
10 out of 10. We're good. I don't know what came over me.
Well,
The lights were on.
you were so starstruck for being on the show. I mean, I can't blame
Oh
you.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I would have joined you, Jay Lee, but not in these shorts.
Yeah.
But,
Or the
but
lack
you're-
lack
you're-
thereof.
Indeed.
no,
I'm-
Myers' green screen is too precious, and he doesn't want to knock it over, does he?
That's very true. That's very
No.
true.
Nope.
Setting the bar high, guys, for today's show.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
damn, it can only go downhill from here. Then.
So
I feel like I've reached the lowest.
once again, though, Jaylee, thank you so much for joining us, man. On the show. I know
It's
you're
great having you, yes.
Yeah, I know you're pretty freaking busy. Actually, it's like what, December. I'm saying
Yeah.
the date because YouTube, the month anyway. But yeah, thank you so much, dude. So
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so I don't know if you've seen any of these podcasts before. Or you may not know the format of them. You know, it's like a kind of like a hot seat kind of we ask you questions kind of thing. So we have a few basic ones like your background and then going on and stuff. But I guess Darj, you can ask the first question. Jaylee.
Oh, yes, Mr. Lee.
Reverse the other way.
Yes. Can you tell us something about your background, your education, or previous employment? But first off, I mean, for those who don't know, who is Jeremiah Lee? The basic question. Who are you?
That's a very deep question.
Well, just,
Who is Jeremiah Lee?
Try not going too deep. Just scratch the surface.
Oh,
and
oh.
you'll be fine.
Just the surface.
Yeah.
Okay. I needed to get in my Zen moment to answer that question.
When I was 9.
I am a senior concept artist in Cloud Imperium Games of the Los Angeles studio. And I am responsible for designing clothing, armor, and aliens and the alien culture. And some props, like the Moby Glass, was the new Moby Glass was designed by me. So anything.
I love you.
Thank you. Anything related to characters pretty much is, except weapons, pretty much I would be responsible for conceptualizing and working with the writers and also the design team.
Right. Like ideation is a word that somebody brought up once in the CitizenCon presentations. You said you did artwork for the alien cultures. So like, are you? You're not. I guess the writers come first, and then like it's you, or like do you actually? Are you like at the top of the chain when it comes to thinking about like how the aliens would go about stuff?
It's the thing with I think games and also film. There never really is a. Especially in the top part, we call it blue sky, right? Which is pretty much anything. It really depends on the situation. The ideal scenario would be the writers would write something, design would take that writing, and then for games anyway. For film, you just remove the design part.
Right.
But for games, it'll be the writers would write the script or the scenario. The design team would then break that down and turn it into gameplay, and then the design would give that to concept, and the concept would then draw what's in there. Occasionally, the concept team might come up with new ideas, and then that gets back into design, and then design fleshes it out, and that's another part of the gameplay. But there are sometimes situations where, like world building and stuff like that, that might not necessarily need design per se. When it's just like, when it's not, if it doesn't have anything to do with gameplay and it's more of just filling out the lore or filling out just the, filling the universe with already existing gameplay, then the writers and the concept team would work together in tandem with each other.
Right.
They'll bounce back and forth. So it really depends on the situation, depends on the subject matter.
Okay.
Would be my answer to that.
It's all right. We're a very interesting podcast. I mean, like,
Yes.
yes. Yes. So,
yeah.
you so far, I guess, for the public at least, I mean, like, you're only on paper as being, doing stuff for the Xi'an. I'm not gonna ask you in any details about that because of obviously, red tape. But like, I guess, what was the experience like for you? Have you done anything like that before? Like actually, like designing like an alien like race and stuff, and like going into it and really like being behind making something that's gonna be, I guess, for some very real experiences.
I've done a lot of world building in like film. They'll be like design island B. Still under NDA with that company.
Is that so? That could be the all the direction that you get, and then you just go.
Yeah. So they'll just be like, just design this, and I'll just whatever. But I would say for the Xi'an, not as much on the Banu, but the Xi'an, I had to dive real deep.
Right.
There was I don't remember, but it looked like a 20-page Word document of just the culture of the Xi'an.
Wow.
Just like their politics, their history, their mating habits, their eating, the cuisine that they would eat, the different types of personalities, what is considered ethical and moral in their standards, and what's
Okay.
also considered what common decency was in their culture. So there was like 20 or 30 pages of that, and it was just I couldn't just draw something because I had to do all my research. I had to like think like a Xi'an, right? And I think I would say that was the deepest I've been when going in. And I also had another concept artist with me called Mike. His name's Michael Broussard. He worked on the Mustang and also the Heavy Outlaw, the samurai looking one.
Okay.
The Outlaw of the Heavy. So I was working with him on it for about a month or so, and so he was doing a lot of stuff like that, and I was in there. So we were bouncing back ideas. We were talking with Josh Herman, the art director, and also talking with Dave Haddock and Will. And so it was just this continual back and forth. But it was we did a lot of illustrations where I think you guys only saw maybe about 10% of what we've done.
Right.
We did just so many. I think I did like 5 or 6 paintings in a day, just like really small. I mean, if you notice the quality of the paintings, they're pretty rough. They just blew it out really big. But we did a lot of those paintings because we just had to get the vibe of the characters and just the culture of the Xi'an.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised
that-
really
yeah.
if we didn't see those in games, to be honest. If you've done so many of them, like, I wouldn't be surprised walking down a street. We've seen some concept art like that already in game. I'm not probing you for questions. I'm just saying, like in Levski,
Yeah.
for instance, like, there's a store and then like, you can't buy anything, but like it has picture frames and it's all concept art and stuff. So I wouldn't be
Yeah.
too surprised. But yeah, so like you'd say the experience is almost like method art, like you have to live and breathe
Yeah.
being the
You have to, because the thing is, like, if you just draw what's written, especially for world building, you tend to use very boring lines and boring shapes.
right.
But if you think like the actual asset that you're creating, things start to get more interesting. There's more intrigue into it. So thinking like a Xi'an is pretty. It's a weird. How much of the Xi'an do you guys know is the question. I think no. Okay, so I think they went over the basics of it, especially in the recent Xi'an videos.
Right.
Because the Xi'an, they're very they're more along the lines of like Japanese culture, I would say, where they don't like to express emotion, and they go deeper into that where for them they see expressing themselves as a weakness, right? And they also see remaining calm and kind of zen-like shows matureness, and also just like power, right? And they live for hundreds of years, and so they try to hone that for over the course of that long period of time. And so they don't like how humans are so weak in their eyes, where they're very expressive and very quick to jump to conclusions when they're just kind of still and quiet.
Right.
But they have a deeper sense of love and passion than the humans do.
So, and I don't know if this is going to sound racist or not, but do the Xi'ans, just like the Japanese, when they get really drunk, also then explode emotionally? Or is it still quite stoic?
That would...
Do they drink alcohol? Do they get intoxicated?
I'm not sure if they get intoxicated.
I mean, would they though? Because they eat rotten food, you know.
They eat rotten food, so they're used to eating. Okay, so it's not rotten food. It's fermented
come on,
food.
that's racist.
It's fermented food. Okay, it's fermented. Okay, so thing is like, because a lot of people, when we put the word carrion on there, right? People automatically thought like roadkill that's been on the side of the road for like
delicious
5 days, right?
Right.
But then for them, they would actually like the Koreans, they'll maybe put it in a pot underground, they love spicy food, and they also love flavor, right? And so
basically
and
kimchi.
that bitter flavor, kind of, yeah. But the thing is, like they actually have cuisine. And they don't just dump a dead body on the table. They would actually have
put the dead body out of the house for
cook.
the first time.
Exactly. For the first time, yeah.
So like in some places you would get like a woman that's laden with sushi, and you would eat the sushi from her. But in Xi'an, you basically you eat the sushi and then you continue. Just because the body as well. But never mind.
Sure.
So what we're getting at is that Xi'ans eat people, right? I mean, like, this is like...
No, I did not say that.
No, but that... Okay, confirm or deny nothing, but that is an interesting thing. Would a Xi'an... I mean, would they eat humans?
I don't know. They don't look like they eat people. They look really...
They are omnivores from what I know. So... And they... Just the no, that's NDA. I can't.
I mean, I don't want to really probe too much into the Xi'an culture, because I mean it's not really like what we wanted, what we asked in the first place, and don't want to get you into too much trouble.
But
all this started with who is Jay Lee?
Who is Jay Lee? Well, turtle people,
and it turned into this weird.
Okay, but if you want to go back on topic, like how difficult is it to start designing clothing and uniforms for a race of people, like before the other people at CIG have finalized how the race actually looks? Does that influence it, or can you just make a few minor modifications and make it work? Or do you think, this is, everything that I've drawn so far is not going to work, I have to start all over again?
The thing with concept, it's never a straight path, right? It's not like, for instance, doing tech art, or if you're doing modeling, right? When you already have the asset in place, you have the concept, and you have the design doc ready, and you're just fleshing it out and just releasing it, right? It's difficult sometimes when there is no design doc, when sometimes it's just like, we need this thing, but we have absolutely no idea what it is. So can you just come up with some new ideas? And so that's difficult, because I would have to come up with random ideas and have variations of it so that Chris or the writers or the art director would then expand more on that idea, right? So not everything per se in concept or a task that is given to a concept artist is fleshed out. Sometimes a task that is given to us is not fleshed out, and they want us to flesh it out. And so sometimes that does happen, and then something gets approved, and then it gets modified, then it gets thrown back to us, and then we have to flesh it out even more. So that's the most difficult one. For the Xi'an, we had like the 20, 30 page document of it, right? So it wasn't that difficult.
Right.
The only difficult part was the actual aesthetic of the Xi'an, like what, like the little thing. Like we knew what the Xi'an were, how they are, and what they will do, but we didn't know, for instance, like what would be considered fashionable in their race, right? Or what would be considered, I don't know, sexy, or what they would consider ugly, right? We didn't have that in the design doc, so the concept team would then have to fill in those holes and come up with different scenarios. So in the illustrations for the Xi'an, for example, if you look at nature today, a lot of the male creatures are very flashy, right? They have the peacock thing, or they're very, like if you look at some snakes or lizards, they have all these spotted patterns, right? But if you look at the females, they're brown, and they're very, they're not attractive. If you actually look at a lot of the, even lions too, right? The male lions, they have that giant mane, but the females, they're very slim, and they don't
unless
have.
it's some insects, in which case it's the other way around. But most of the time it is the males who are
That's really
who are the
interesting.
flamboyant one.
Like now I'm thinking of the Xi'an males, like, you know, wearing these big flashy ornaments, and then the females just dressing really nunny, you know, like just like with brown robes and stuff.
Yeah. So what the thing I was saying to the writers and the art director was, when Michael and I were designing Xi'an, we said, what would be the most fun thing for us to see the community react to is they land on a Xi'an planet, right? And they're lost, and they're asking for directions, and they come across this like butch looking. They see all these like flashy looking Xi'an, and then they're like, oh, they're kind of, I don't want to talk to him. So they go to one that's like butch and like brown and just like, you know, kind of like how do you say, not extravagant. So they approach him and be like, I'm sorry, sir, I'm looking for directions. Can you help me out? And then the person will be like, I'm actually a female. Like that's what I want in the game.
That would be amazing.
Wow.
That would be amazing, to be honest. And I could see that happening for sure.
But here's another idea, maybe not to, because, you know, it's not going to happen. But, all right, so as a product of evolution, it's the males who are, you know, extravagant. They have, you know, crests and protrusions and stuff like that. And the females are more toned down. But as a byproduct of society, then, to get everybody to a more level basis, it's the women who dress up in more vivid clothing, and it's the men who tone it down. So it's like a mix.
I mean,
like biological flashiness.
The actual lore for that is that the male and the females are considered extremely equal.
Okay.
However, but then the females are in the upper category. We call it the matriarch, right? They have the three matriarch.
Because there's an empress or something, isn't there, right?
Yes. So like, no, it's an emperor, but there's also the matriarch, which is like 3 females.
Okay.
And so they might dress like royalty, right? So royalty will always look, you know, flashy, right?
Yeah.
But it's just I was mainly talking about like the flashiness could be through class and the different houses, right? But then the flashiness, what I wanted to get at was like more on their skin. So they would actually, the males might actually like tattoo or etch like gold on their face or precious metals onto their face to look more extravagant, to be more flashy in the eyes per se. But they still do express their class and their house They represent their house by their clothing. But then the females are considered not sacred per se, but they are considered upper class to compared to the males.
Okay.
But they view each other on equal standing. And the culture of them is so weird. And the females are treasured because the mating season they have is once every, I could be wrong, but it's once every 3 years, I think. And so it's very hard to have children. So they cherish the females. And even when a female is in active duty at the time of mating season, they will let her mate.
Go on
because it's
So
it's
so
because
kinda like
it's
a
that
bonfire.
important.
Right. Or like a
because
Zoidberg
it's-
thing.
Yeah, because it's they're considered a great valuable asset to the nation itself and the race.
Is there? I like how this has just gotten it to be a discussion about the Xi'an, but is there like a different ratio between male and females in Xi'an population, or is it like 50-50 like in humans?
I didn't ask that question actually.
Because
To the writers.
that might actually add to the females being a more protected
precious.
part. Yeah, if there were fewer of them than males.
I think from what I remember, they were about 50-50. The reason why was because it's just because of just the long length of the mating season, right? And so and it's the females that carry the children, right? Within
Right.
their bodies, right? And so it's just because of that they're very cherished and very protected. I don't know the actual ratio between male and females, but from what I recall, because this was like way months back, I think they were on 50-50 or 60-40. I'm not sure.
So,
Because I remember I did ask that question if the females were if there was a lower ratio, and they said that not really. From what I remember,
okay.
I don't know the exact numbers.
So, pulling us back from the Xi'an just ever so slightly before we tried into like red tape territory again.
To the
right?
start of the show.
Yeah. So, your background as a character concept, artist, right? How much of that included like clothing and clothes and stuff? Because like right now in like SC, you're doing armor, you're doing the Moby glass, you're doing all this kind of design. Like, because how much of that have you done like prior? Just like actual clothing and stuff. Because to me, it feels like you could like drop Star Citizen and start your own clothing line and like be relatively successful.
Basically, what he's trying to ask is, have you worked with Tim Gunn?
Jesus. Like, have I worked on it before? Like that?
Yeah, as in like,
before?
as in like, have you worked on clothing before much? And
Well, I mean, I haven't done this extensive costume design and fashion design before.
Right.
Because this is an MMO, it requires a vast amount of art, right? But before, normally just be like, hey, give me some concepts of this character. And just be like maybe 6 or 7, right? Or even some games like, hey, give me like 15 clothing options. And I would do that, right? So I didn't do as much as I am doing now before. And also, I've never worked as a staff on, this is my first staff project. Like an actual developer. Yeah,
okay.
I've been a freelancer for since 2010 till about 3 years ago. So that's like, what, 4 years? Four or 5 years? Yeah. And during that time, I jumped on multiple projects. I've designed costumes, armor, sometimes statues, props, ships, vehicles, just environments as well. So I've done a lot of different things. But when it came to actual fashion and clothing, I would have to do my research on a lot of things.
You wouldn't say that you've been like put out of your depth at all. I mean, like, have you found anything like particularly challenging in terms of like costume creation, especially at the volume at which you have to do it now?
I would say volume is always the most challenging. Like my friend Michael, he I agree with him. He always said that, if you ask a concept artist to do something, and you have to give multiple variants, the first three normally are your best, because
Right.
you have done all the research and you picked all the pretty parts of the research and then you threw it into an image, right? But then you have to do 12 more, and it gets difficult because you start running out of steam, you start running out of ideas. Because it's hard for somebody to think one way, then scrap that idea and go in a completely different direction.
Right.
And it's just that's always the difficult part, I would say. Just the mass bulk of the concepts. So what we do now, though, is to kind of get away from that. We would work on one asset, do as many as we can, then we jump on something else, so that we're not in that train of thought anymore. And then we work on something else, and then we might come back to it so that we have a different eye on it and stuff like that. So we have methods of combating. It's kind of like writer's block, but an artist block per se. But the amount of of art that we have to do for an MMO is just ridiculous. This is way too much stuff. But yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. What sort of actual how to put this very eloquently? I'll just give up. What sort of education in terms of artistry and drawing little pretty pictures do you have? Or is that even, would you say, a hard prerequisite in today's industry? Or
How
is it
did
just
you level
pure
up?
talent that's more important?
I didn't. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
I was born max level, baby.
I would say, without giving my whole life story, I was always a doodler growing up, but I wasn't serious about art till I was about 15, 16. I started working on my portfolio, and then I got into Art Center College of Design, which is known for a lot of car design and a lot of film people came out from there. Like the guys who worked on Blade Runner, Sid Mead, was from Art Center. A lot of the movies that came out in the 90s, a lot of the illustrators were from Art Center. And so I went there for a couple years, and then I actually dropped out. I left school halfway because I was getting job offers from here and there, like from freelance projects. So I was going to school and working on TV shows and no films, but like indie films and stuff like that. And it was just consuming my time.
Right.
And eventually I was like, I have to go to school and everything. I need this degree. And then it was when the wake-up call for me to actually drop out of school was I was attending one class. It was a Photoshop class. And I've been doing Photoshop technically professionally, for about a year. And I did the homework. I don't know how, but I did the homework. And it was like a finals, I think. No, it was midterm. It was a midterm homework. And I turned the homework in, and the professor looked at me when I presented it, and he said, Jeremiah, how did you do this? And I was just like, I painted it, right? And he was like, can you talk to me after class? And I was like, oh, okay, I can't. I'm not. This is a PG-13 podcast.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Sugar. Oh, sugar.
Okay, darn it. So I was like,
It's actually not, because the channel has the M rating. So
No, it
yeah,
doesn't.
but
What, you mean the... Oh, God.
I was like, oh, sugar bottoms. I don't want to get in trouble. And so I thought I was in trouble. And then after class, when everybody left, I was like, oh, sugar bottoms. And he approached me and he asked me, can you actually break down how you did this? I'm really curious how you did it. And then I gave him an hour and 30-minute demo of how I did it. And so I was teaching him when I was paying to learn. And I was like, are you serious right now, right? And so he was like, oh wow, I didn't know that's just really interesting. It's really efficient, it's really fast, and it looks pretty. And I was just like, that's what everybody in this industry is doing. Like, why are you not teaching this in Photoshop? Because it was a Photoshop class, and I was demoing him a Photoshop technique.
Right.
And I was just like, and I found out that, Art Center is a wonderful school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking mad sugar bottom at them. So it's, but the instructor at the time was a full-time instructor, so he was not working in the industry at
He
the
wasn't
time.
doing research or anything.
Right. So he was just
where he was
busy
at.
teaching. Right.
Exactly.
And I was like, I'm learning from outside courses and stuff like that. And it was a lot. It was really more of like I got lucky and I met the right people, and I was able to kind of grow my skills through networking and just using those ideas from other people working in the industry into my art. So it's a weird story. It's like, yeah, there was some training involved, going to school, like the basic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say about 80% of the art or the skill that I've acquired over the years would be through friends and through the job. Because sometimes they're like, we need a 3D model. I'm like, I don't do 3D. Well, we need it tomorrow. Well, okay.
Oh, geez.
I guess I'll do it.
and you learned how to 3D model in 12 hours. Then
Yeah, exactly.
Like that.
So you'd say that like having a lack of, say, a degree or whatever in like art or whatever hasn't hindered you in any way, shape, or form. I mean, heck, you're working at CIG, right?
So it's really a tricky question, right? Because I teach too without a degree, which is very interesting, at a university once every 2 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
No, I taught last year, so I taught a full course at a university. That conversation I can tell you about later was very interesting, but how I got in. But it's I always encourage artists who are in school to stay in school and graduate, because the reason why, you don't need it to get a job, right? You don't need it. Like, your school and your degree is more of a conversational piece during lunch, right?
Right.
When you apply for a job, they don't ask you for your degree. They ask you for a portfolio. But the thing that I had the most hard time compared to graduates of the university was networking, because when you graduate, you make a lot of friends, and you meet a lot of good artists and good potential artists, and a majority of the time when they graduate, a handful of the really good artists will have jobs, and those people will remember you, right? And you can a lot of the times get a job through networking, right? But the thing is, however, since I left halfway, did not have that networking at all. And so I had to do the legwork. I had to write all those emails, go to all the studios, follow people around, borderline stalk them, and, just like be like, hey, can you help a brother out? Can you help me out? So can you look at my art? Like, there was, for I think good 2 years, I was just hustling. So that's the one thing I do kind of regret, but at the same time I don't, because I've done the hard work to get here. But yeah.
So I guess stay in school, kids, because
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Don't be like Jaylee. It's just pain and suffering.
That's awesome. So you were gonna ask a
I
question?
can I can actually relate, because I went to school for photography, and a lot of the Photoshop stuff was basically, it's like I got like several cameras over there. It was beginner stuff that you actually had to know before you even applied, which was really stupid. And yeah, I dropped out as well, because in the end, through actual practice while studying, you would get just so much better than what you were actually getting in from the professors, that kind of stopped making sense. But I suppose the networking part is the same thing, because I'm lacking that as well. And Oh boy, am I paying for it right now?
Exactly.
Exactly. So stay in school,
Exactly.
kids.
Stay
Yes.
in school. Stay in school.
Are you in school yet? We're watching.
Why are you not in school now?
Are you at school?
Oh man.
Oh, sorry. Skype is fun.
So, next question, I suppose, since we have quite a few to go through, what sort of tools do you use, and which would you say is a must-have for your line of work? Both software and hardware.
The pen
The pen.
is mightier than the sword. No, it's a wick.
That's.
So I use a Wacom. Oh,
I'll come back to that because that's really annoying to me because the pen is not mightier than the sword. Might is the mind who knows when to use itch, or whatever the quote is.
Well, I use this. This is a portable one that I kind of take around with me. It's a small one, but I use a medium-sized Intuos Pro 4, Intuos 4. And
You don't use it very often, do you, Jaylee? It's dusty as all heck.
I know because this one's at home. I actually rarely draw at home. I should draw more, but CIG has been sucking all my creative juices out.
Goddamn juice sucking CIG.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the hardware. I use a medium size, and at work I have a Cintiq, an actual screen that I can draw on.
Oh,
Okay.
those are very nice looking.
Yeah,
It's like a
it
23-inch or even bigger thing.
It's the biggest one, and also like we get deals with I think like with the newest hardware with Intuos and so they might send us like some new end of the line stuff. Hey, can you test it out, see what it's like? And be like, sure, send us your free sugar bottoms, and we'll be like, yeah. That's the hardware, and the software. I paint in Photoshop and also do some sketching in Photoshop, and I sculpt in ZBrush. Sometimes Modo for some 3D modeling. I don't know how to use Maya or 3ds Max. I know how to navigate in it, but I don't know how to use it. And I use Keyshot, which is a rendering program. Well, I'll take the 3D asset and move it over to Keyshot, and it'll make it look photorealistic with all the crazy lighting and stuff like that. So the Moby Glass... I forgot to send it to you, Meyer. I don't know where it is though. Like the Moby Glass was sculpted.
Thanks, Jaylee.
Yeah, I forgot. I forgot. I don't know where it is though. But the Moby Glass, that one was sculpted in ZBrush and rendered in Keyshot. So, but if you look at it, it looks kind of photorealistic, or it looks like a magazine type of shot of like a watch or something. And so, any other programs?
ZBrush is basically is like one of those easier to 3D model because it mimics the way you would actually sculpt clay instead of actually I'm going to take this vertex and pull a polygon in this direction and shit like that. So,
yeah, it's less of it's less a 3D modeling tool and more of a sculpting tool. So I call it a digital sculpting tool because for 3D modeling, you have to be precise with how many vertices you use, how many edges you use, how many polys you have altogether. But the power of ZBrush is it gives no sugar bottoms about how much polys you have, right? And it's just like literally just throw polygons at it and you can push and pull it so you can get those organic and pretty shapes. While if you try to do that in, Maya, you can kind of sculpt now. But before Maya and 3ds Max, you would have to actually calculate each curve of an organic shape, which is difficult. But in ZBrush, you can just, with one swipe of a hand, you can do it.
But but how does a ZBrush high poly is translated into a working engine model? Is it basically imported and simplified, or do they have to rebuild it on top of the imported ZBrush model? So
they would have to. So the high poly phase that you guys are aware of is literally just a sculpt. That's all it is, without any idea or any consideration for poly counts or any consideration to, per se, even rigging to a certain extent. It was just getting the most detailed thing possible in 3D phase. And the character artists, that's their most fun part, right? Because they can be creative with it, right? So they'll model in like a screw or like dents and cuts and whatever. And then the next phase would be game asset, which will then take that asset, right? And we call it decimate, where they'll triangulate it. So try to take it as low as poly as possible, but it'll be kind of rough. And then they'll build on top. They'll kind of like map out the actual asset using the least amount of polys possible. So that's what game asset is. So they would technically import their heavy, high poly asset and then literally just trace over it. And then taking consideration of the rig, taking consideration of the zones, and taking consideration of the poly count and where the textures will go and the UV. I said a lot of things.
Sure, I edited some of those words. Yeah, thank you very much.
I suppose we could have someone more knowledgeable and why are words failing me today? Can you explain, Meyer?
You're starstruck.
What did you do to? Oh, yes, that is.
It is the
probably
Jaylee
it.
effect. You see, he's
It
in the
is.
center
It
here,
is.
and
It's his fault. Yeah.
And I have this glow.
I suppose. Yes, I was supposed to say more authorized to discuss just how an asset goes from 2D sketch all the way to in-game assets. I mean, stuff like that has been explained, but I suppose the pipeline is continually evolving. Or would you say that it's pretty much cemented in at this point?
The pipeline hasn't changed, I would say, since the Heavy Marine came in. That's kind of when we when we actually agreed to a pipeline. Because we did the Medium Marine, that was kind of like our gold standard. And then we had to make a variant of it, which is the Heavy Marine. And then that, the whole modularity aspect was brought up and how we're going to efficiently do the modularity stuff. And so we had to come up with a pipeline for that. And so once the Heavy Marine was completed and we were able to make things swappable, that's when we've been keeping the same pipeline since then. So things haven't really changed. But things might get tweaked here and there depending on the asset, depending on what's required for that asset, specifically mechanic-wise, game mechanic-wise. But for, I would say, the past year and a half or so, the overall pipeline hasn't changed. Yeah, I would say.
Right. So, full disclaimer, first of all, to those looking at the images up above right now, not everything there is from Star Citizen. Don't expect no haunted stories, ghoul, or a giant robot chasing a girl anytime soon in Star Citizen.
And anytime soon, yeah. But I was just going to say, why not?
With mods, of course, the sky is the limit. However, don't expect that. But I just decided to pull it up just to show some of the art stuff there. And so, Jaylee, you've talked a bit about actual tuition, teaching people how to go about doing what it is you do. And I know to a very small extent, you've actually done that on Twitch TV. You've done streams, but creative streams, like, that have been almost kind of like steered and directed by the viewers. Oh, what should we do today? Oh, samurai? Okay, let's get some source material out. Let's make it look like Asian Glow. Let's do this. Asian Glow, sorry. Eden Star.
Asian Glow.
Yeah. Words, they fail me too. But
we're both starstruck.
But
I'm so starstruck I can't even speak it. Apparently.
You can't even speak. But so you've done that on Twitch TV as well. Sadly, I couldn't find the VOD. It disappeared because I don't think you have Twitch Turbo, but it doesn't save the VODs otherwise.
I don't even know what Twitch Turbo is.
It's okay. I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But
it's Twitch that gets crammed down your throat because of the forced induction.
Oh.
Yeah. Basically, you've done that on Twitch TV. You basically taught people how it is you do what you do, to a very small degree, with some character concept design there. Can you tell us a bit more about your streaming career, your illustrious twitch.tv/ I think Jaylee it is, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. 4-letter username.
Oh, man. It took me like 8 months to finally get that one, too. Well, what's there to really... Well, I guess I guess I created. Not created. I originally my user handle used to be JLeeSig because we got permission from CIG to be like, hey, if you want to actually interact with Twitch, you can put on, the CIG tag.
I wasn't asking about the history about your handle. I was asking about your Twitch channel in general. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting there, bro.
Okay, all right.
Bro.
Sorry, story time.
Okay.
Story time. Oh gosh,
but-
I'm sorry.
But originally I started the Twitch actual streaming because people loved Josh Herman's segment on the happy hour
Right.
when he was sculpting for an hour, and that was our most popular happy hour.
Right.
Every time he would sculpt something, and everyone was like, it'd be cool if you did that, and I was like,
I could be Herman.
I was like, I guess. And the thing is, if I stream, I have as much time in the world to do it. Right? It's not just
Right.
1 hour, and so I'm not forced to, be put on the spot. And
There are
so
no
that's how I
constraints,
started, and that's how I started, and kind of took off from there. And so it was really for the community. I would say I started the art streams for the community so that they can see an actual CIG dev work on something, but not an actual asset of Star Citizen. I think
Right.
also I've heard this, not as much anymore, but at the time a lot of people in the community were saying that they felt like CIG's not interacting with the community enough, or they're like, I still hear that today, but like they're
How
like, oh,
dare you sit here and
Yeah.
talk to us, the community? I mean, gee.
yeah, exactly. Like, I think I've been hearing that, seeing that a lot in chat on different multiple streamers.
I've seen it too. Yeah.
And it's like, and at one point, one person was also telling me like, oh, you're more of a community manager than Jared. I'm just like, no, bro, no. They're busy and they're dealing with a lot of stuff that you guys don't see, and a lot of the shows that you guys see, and a lot of the backlash that you guys don't actually see. They protect the community and also more importantly developers as much as they can. So they try to work in shadows as much. But for me, on my free time, I can just jump in on Twitch and play, right, and troll and give Meyer a hard time. But it's
But
I
when
felt
you
like-
do that, you're not actually like a representative of CIG, but it's basically just Jay Lee.
yeah,
It's
right.
You're not Jeremiah Lee, senior artist, concept artist.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you ask me a CIG question, I could technically answer as a dev, but I try not to as much. If it's like something that we've already talked about in a past ATV or something, then I'll just readdress that. Say, in this ATV, we said this. But I try not to answer as a developer on Twitch. It's more of just like, I view the community as family. I believe you guys are like my family as well. And it's just like, if there's something that I can return, if I can return something back to the community, then that would be.
Can you spot me $5?
I mean, I could.
I mean,
Will
he is
I?
subscribed
That's
to
another
you.
question.
He spots you $5 every month. What more do you want?
Well, technically I do, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm getting so much smack about that too.
Oh yeah.
Like how I'm subbed to certain people and not everybody. I'm like, yo, I'm not rich, man. I would sub to everybody, but I'm not.
Oh, sorry, muscle memory.
Oh,
Yeah. Somebody just subbed.
Speaking of subs,
oh,
I'm
is
not
there,
doing
is there music playing?
There
Is there
was
music
music playing a second ago. Yeah. So I was like, no podcast mode.
because he forgot to disable that, but
I did.
Oh.
Streamlabs is weird. Like I press the button, I hit save, and it still does it. Like the follow sounds are going through as well. But hey,
well,
I don't-
this is
I don't
also
hear it.
one of the reasons why we record it separately. So on YouTube, it's just the pure sexy sounds of your hosts and guests.
Oh yes.
thanks for the sub, Caldroan.
Yes.
Thank you. Anyway, back to
Back to so yeah.
back to,
so you do-
back to
yeah.
reality. Hope there goes gravity.
So okay, so you do Twitch streams and you do creative streams, and they honestly are one of the best things, like creative wise that I've seen on Twitch, for a long time, man. Keep it up.
Oh, thank you.
You'll make affiliate note. Wait, you are affiliate. I have your emotes.
I am an affiliate.
But yo, like I really do dig your creative streams. Like, did you stop doing them? Like, I don't think I've seen them again since you did the VerseCon poster, right?
I did one guerrilla one, like Space Harambe, somebody
Oh
called it.
yeah. I
Which is
saw
absolutely
that.
amazing. It's just been when I come home I would say probably when we were doing the big push for SitCon and Gamescom and the 3.0, I've been kind of drained when coming home. And I've only been playing games on Twitch recently just because I wanted to just kind of just let loose and just relax and just play games. So after this live stream push, I'll probably jump back into painting or sculpting and doing more of the creative stuff. But recently it's just been I would say a lot of the devs in CIG are giving more than 110% when it comes to our jobs.
Definitely.
And
I
so
mean, like,
it's just
yeah. It's just a given,
No
right?
secret,
I mean, like, you're working and then like you come home, it's like, oh, okay, time to work some more, but with the community. Yeah, I can totally
it's a
understand
little
that.
rough. Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I love drawing and I love painting, but then when you do that, it's like streaming, right? Meyer, like when you stream, you have a certain mindset. It's not the Meyer that has the computer off, right? You have to click something in your head to be in that state of mind, right? To actually
What you talking about? I'm always like this. I'm always on.
Lies and slander. But it's like, imagine, you switch that on for about 12, like 8 to 10 hours, and then you come home and you switch it on again for a different audience, right? It's just like, it can be very draining, and sometimes I just want to do something else, right? And so video games is one way of doing it. So I've been streaming not a lot, but the past streams have been purely games.
Yeah.
Lately.
Speaking of video games, so what was the? You had this really.
My question. I was just gonna go to this question, and thank you for stealing.
I'm not stealing your question, Thunder Boy. But like, speaking of video games, I mean, like, what was the idea behind? You did this really awesome PubG stream about Mr. President, right? Like,
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Like, what brought that on? I mean, like, like there was a build up to it and everything, and it happened, and you had your speech. It was amazing. Yeah. But what started that exactly? I wish I had like a footage of that.
It's
If only there was a VOD.
If only there was a VOD. And there was a VOD, and then it got taken down for some reason.
Yeah, no Twitch Turbo.
Twitch. I don't even know what that is. But it's a funny story. I was watching YouTube.
Okay.
And I think I was watching Critical Role, which is a D&D thing podcast where a bunch of voice actors, right? And,
I love you, Jelly. For the second time today, I love you.
Yeah. So I saw Matt Mercer on his, it just went on this weird spiral. So it suggested me to a Matthew Mercer video, him talking about Critical Role, and then it suggested me to watch a Matt Mercer video talking about in an anime expo talking about voice acting. Right. And then it led me to another video about voice acting, and then it led me to a last final video of a voice actor doing a Donald Trump impression.
Right.
And I was like, that's pretty amazing. And I practiced in front of the mirror, and I was like, I think I can do this. And then I went to the office and I did the voice, and everyone was like, oh, that's great. You should like do that on your stream. I was just like, yeah, but how? And they were like, you can do this president mode thing. And I was like, what's the president mode? And so it was me, Matt Sherman, JJ, and the three of us were talking about it. And then that's when, that's one of the videos.
Yeah, so I found a VOD of it. And this is so we have sound. This is just a clip of it right here. All right. You can't hear it, but
I will.
No, JJ's he's doing a Nixon.
Nixon
voice.
impression. Yeah.
He's doing a Nixon impression. Yeah. So it was a
It's
bunch
freaking
of
amazing.
presidents.
Yeah.
We were doing president impressions while the entire stream. I was, I don't think I've ever had that much fun ever. That was probably my favorite stream that I've
That
done.
was great. I
Just
I
fooling
was up
around.
at like 5 a.m. watching that, man, laughing my head
Yeah.
off, dude.
I remember Matt Sherman was like, "All right, Mr. President, we need you to leave the building to move you to safety." And I was inside the building. And I was just like, "All right, Mr. President, will you follow me, please?" And I'd be like, "No, I will not move." And then he'd be like, "Well, okay, sir. Shoot. Okay, let's."
Shoot, okay.
Yeah, that was funny. That was funny. Yeah, but people ask me to do the Donald Trump impression all the time now after they saw that stream.
What, in the
I
office
went
like?
No, I went to a party and they saw the PubG stream that I did because all my friends were like, "Oh, you should see this." And then I went to a party, like a house party, and everyone was like, "Hey, you're the Donald Trump guy. Do the voice." I'm like, yeah, I just want to chill. It's like, "Oh, come on, man, you're so funny." And I was just like, "Hello, I'm Donald Trump," and I'm like, "Ah!" And I was like, "Okay, all right, can you just like leave me alone now?" I just want to. Oh yeah, there's that Meyer butt right there.
Is the what?
The Meyer
You drew
butt.
Meyer on the monkey's butt and Waka's name as well.
Is
Oh,
that,
that's
that the space Harambe thing?
Yeah.
That's the space around it. Yeah.
But yeah. Awesome
but
times.
okay. Leaving monkey butts and orange Cheetos behind.
Yes.
Going back to Jay Lee. What's your background in gaming though? Before you started streaming,
industry wise or
no, just
playing
as,
games?
playing games. Yeah.
What was your earliest memory of video
Oh,
games as a
God.
young baby Jay Lee
I think
kind of character?
my first ever video game that I remember is probably the Super Nintendo. I think I was playing Mario. Nope, Tetris. Yeah, that was Tetris. I remember. It was Tetris. That's like I vaguely remember it, but I've
like
always
a
been
arcade cabinet or more like a Commodore 64 thing.
a Commodore 64 one. My dad set it up
Nice.
for me. But I only remember that one time though. So this is like when I was really young. But I've always had a console in the house. I remember my parents were since my dad was an engineer at the time, and so he was all about tech. And he told me he was the Pac-Man champion in the arcades back in the day. So he was a gamer at his time, but just like the actual arcade gamer.
Yeah.
And so,
And then you thought challenge accepted.
yeah, exactly. And so I've played on the SNES, N64, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, 3, and 4. I did not have an Xbox. I had a Sega Genesis. Wow, man. These are just I also had a
Memories.
Yeah, I'm just like GameCube. I remember those days. Let's see. Was it Dream something? Shoot, I forgot. I borrowed it from a friend.
Dreamcast.
Dreamcast.
Yeah,
There you go.
Dreamcast.
Yeah, I remember playing that. Yeah. But I played so many games. But I would say the games that really formed the type of gamer that I am would be Ocarina of Time,
Oh, dude, yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PS1, and no, it was a PS2. It was a PS1. I think it was PS1. And also, I don't know the name, but it's a Batman game on the SNES, and it was I just remember the scene on the Joker roller coaster ride, and it was just so difficult. That was the first game I rage quit. The first ever game, like when games were actually super difficult and there was no checkpoint save system where you had to complete the entire level.
Yeah.
I remember that was the first game I rage quit.
So it was an Arkham Knight or something like that.
I don't know. No. It was like
Nah.
an old game on the SNES. It was a Batman Joker something. But I don't know. I've played a lot of different kinds of games, first person shooters, side scrollers. So today and I jumped on the World of Warcraft bandwagon
Oh, okay.
for maybe about 3 years.
Only
And
3
then
years. That's pretty
I-
short. I mean, like
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
release, like '04.
No, I jumped in on the end of Burning Crusade and the
Ah, okay.
beginning of Wrath of the Lich King. So,
Ah.
because I was in school during that time, and
Mhm.
then I remember I was like, "Oh, this is interesting. I like Warcraft 3. Why don't I jump in?" Right, and it's got an expansion pack. I'm like, "Oh, cool!" So I jumped in.
I
And I
think
was
we
hooked
actually
on that
found the
game.
reason why Jeremiah Lee actually quit school is so he could devote all his time to World of Warcraft.
To World of Warcraft. That's exactly what it was. You know, it's not the actual profession thing. It was World of Warcraft.
Exactly. It just so happened to draw while waiting for raid queues and
Yeah,
stuff, and
exactly.
got good enough to be employed.
But I actually quit World of Warcraft because I realized I had a wake up call moment when I realized what it was doing to my life. I can briefly talk about it, I guess. I was raiding, and it was my birthday, and I had no idea it was my birthday. And my girlfriend and my girlfriend at the time and my brother, they bought a cake for me, lit it up, entered my room while I was raiding, and they started singing the happy birthday song. And I got so mad because I was a healer. And it was a very intense fight. And I literally turned around and I told them, "All right, guys, just give me 20 minutes. I'll join you in 20 minutes. Just wait in the living room, okay? Just give me 20 minutes." And they literally, I saw their faces of just sadness. They're like, "Okay." And so they blew out the candles and took it to the living room.
Oh man.
And when they left, I turned back to my computer and I was like, "What am I doing? I'm losing the most valuable thing in my life, which is my family and my significant others." And so I quit that day. Actually, I told the raid group, this is messing with my life, and I'm losing something so valuable, and I feel like I'm going to regret it. They were
That's
pissed, of course,
crazy.
but I'm like, I'm unsubbing. And I unsubbed.
Oh yeah. I mean that's crazy. I mean like as I guess that's kind of almost testament to how like good a game Warcraft is, that it can just
Yeah.
all consume. And really quickly,
Would we want Star Citizen to be on that same sort of level? Do
it's-
we want it
it's
to be
going
that
to.
good of a game? You think so?
It might.
I'm
yeah.
afraid because
I
on
can
the
see
one
it
thing you want it to be such a good game that people can get into it, but on the other hand, we have proof that that's maybe not be such a good thing after all.
you don't want them ice cold feels birthday man emotions, man. But
I mean, like it's
yeah.
like for me, like I still play an MMO today. I play Final Fantasy 14. Right. I've till this day I've been playing it. I've been playing it for about maybe a year and a half. But thing is, I love that game, but I only play like max 9 hours a week, minimum 3 hours a week. So like for me, I was able to manage like, I love this game, but I will dedicate a certain part of my day and my week to this game,
Right.
and it's totally doable.
But no more.
Because
no
that
less.
game, but that game you totally could do that as well. But it really comes down to self-restraint and also
Being
I
an
guess,
adult, yeah.
being an adult, but I can definitely see Star Citizen. The problem with Star Citizen that I can possibly see consumer-wise on that type of aspect is because there's not a lot of like for instance on raids and stuff. It's like once a week, right? Like you have a time limit to do it within a week, right?
Yeah.
So like you have to beat this boss every week. So kind of like if you beat the boss in a day, you don't have to play, right? The thing
Yeah.
with Star Citizen, everything's consistently evolving, right?
Yeah.
And it's driven by the NPCs, and it's also driven by a player to a certain extent. And so like the world is ever changing every second, right? And so I can see some people getting sucked into that and just
definitely.
living 24 hours with the game that's currently like, always evolving.
Yeah, we're getting stories in chat. Pyrophoric saying that his buddy lost his career as a firefighter because of World of Warcraft. I mean, again, testament to just how much MMOs can suck you in. I have a few
And
like
here
first.
I was trying to come up with reasons that Star Citizen is catering more to a more mature audience, an audience that would display more self-restraint and better judgment and not allow themselves to be consumed. But then we have a buddy who's actually a grown adult, a firefighter, and still didn't manage to do that. So there goes my theory.
Back in 2006, when I was raiding in Molten Core with my guild, a 40-man raid, like on TeamSpeak, one of our one in the 40. First of all, he was late. And then on TeamSpeak, we all heard him get fired over VoIP because he was raiding from work.
Wow.
And, like one of our mods, actually, like he got like a freaking like a blood clot from playing WoW too long and stuff. I mean, like, it's dangerous, man. But like at the same time.
I got carpal tunnel from WoW.
Oh, yeah? So did I. So I played WoW. Like I've gotten better, I suppose, but like, I had this like massive discoloration on my wrist, right where like that is, just because like I would just be nonstop on the thing. Like
you need one of those mouse mats with an anime girl with a silicone boobie, so you can.
The boobies, But for me, it was right here. It was right here for me.
Yeah, I have to do physio every day. Yeah, physio every day for it.
Yeah, I had it as well, but not from World of Warcraft, and Mara will remember this. It was from work, because I work in CAD, and I have basically it's just mouse work all the time, and sometimes it can be up to 12 or 16 hours a day when I have like a rush for a deadline. Yeah, that's
what a nerd.
So,
am I right, Jaylee?
Really? You of all people calling me a nerd?
Wow, is that a real thing on Skype?
Is it a real thing? So anyway,
is that a real thing on Skype?
Dude, I need to go. Okay, I need to poop. Okay,
right. Okay. Suppose we can take a break, and then we come back. We'll go into the second half.
I had
of the
a very
show
bad
for a
breakfast.
more personal, I suppose. Go.
All right, Jaylee.
Go.
Okay, we'll be back after these massages.
Oh, jeez. It'll be quick.
Bye.
I promise.
All right. But yeah, we're okay. How was your poop, Jaylee?
Oh, it was glorious.
Glorious.
Mm-hmm. I have offered my sacrifices to the poop god, and he was pleased.
Poop for the poop god. Yes. Yep. Satisfactory. Anyway, so anyway, so questions. So Star Citizen, are you actually a backer?
No, I am not. I am not a backer. No, I heard of Star Citizen when Total Biscuit did his interview with Chris way back when, I think 2010.
He was here to ask and answer one simple question.
Yes.
WTF is.
Yeah. So I was on the bandwagon of I want to see this game come out, and when this game is out, then I will purchase the game and support the game. Once I have a product in my hands, was my original stance. Mm-hmm. So no.
You say your original stance, has that stance changed since?
I'm waiting for the Orion to come out. So I can buy the crap out of it.
So as a dev,
the Orion starter package, yes.
As a dev, though, you do have access to the game. So, like, have you played it much? 2.6.3 and stuff. I mean, like, do you play it with friends, with other devs, that kind of thing?
Yeah. For 2.6.3, I played a lot with the character artists in the team during lunch and stuff like that. So we would make up scenarios and stuff like that. So we'd make a lot of different situations where the players could come across, and sometimes we just play the game, play some Star Marine.
Do you ever? Sorry, go on.
No, that's it.
I was gonna say, do you ever like when you play with the other concept artists and stuff? Do you ever like in your minds like use it as kind of like because I know you can always like do in-engine dev stuff without being in the actual game, but do you ever like do it and go, this could be a great location for X, Y, and Z, or all this I could do with this, like or is it just playing the game as it were?
I think it's really weird playing the game as a dev. About 80% of the time, you're always looking at the negatives and what could make this better. especially when I play at work. I'm always in that mindset. So when I was streaming Star Citizen, like when we played, I tried to remove that mindset, and so I try to play as a friend in the game and not as a dev, because it really makes it distracting, and it really, how do you say it? Like it's really hard, especially when you're playing your own game. It's really hard to get out of that dev type of mindset, and so sometimes I need assistance with other people in the party that's not a dev to kind of get that type of that feeling that I'm playing a video game and not a project. Yeah.
Right. Fair enough.
And you also get to access a lot of stuff that you can talk about, or when you do play it with your friends on stream, and then do you ever find yourself wanting to talk about some things that are already in game in development but not actually live, and then you just bite your tongue and then just mid-sentence and nope, can't do that?
Wait, what? Can you repeat the first part of the question? I missed the first part.
When you're playing as not a dev, like on a stream with other people, do you actually would you catch yourself wanting to discuss something about the game, but then you catch yourself realizing that you're not allowed to because it's not in the game yet, but you have such deeper knowledge of the game, of what's happening? Yeah.
Consistently. I think every time I play Star Citizen or watch an ATV or like I remember when I did the live stream after the sitcon, like I did a rewatch of it, and there were so many things that I was not allowed to say, and so I only talked about certain things that I might have like fleshed out a little further if it came out a little. Like some things that Sean Tracy was saying, I was reiterating on that, and some also things that Chris wanted to do and wants to do, but I wasn't able to talk about the things that is happening, right, and that's in development. So it's always weird. I guess you have to be kind of very aware of what you're saying, especially when you're on air.
Right.
And so like that's why sometimes you might look at me just looking up because I'm trying to think. Like, can I say this or not? So it's not. It's a little frustrating sometimes, but it's worth it. We don't want to spoil things for you. So yeah.
Fair enough. Because we know that you're working heavily on both things. So a question like, what are you looking forward to the most doesn't really quite make. I mean, like even a question like what are you most anticipating being released is also quite like an iffy thing because of course everything, right?
Right. I can only talk about the things that you guys have heard about, and I have to choose between in that box that I'm the most excited about that you guys are already aware of, right? So it's just like it's a weird question because the thing is like what I'm most excited about would be bleep NDA, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah. So people always ask me that question. What are you most
apart from
for?
the game actually coming out, there's really nothing you can talk about because we don't know either. Maybe you will after the holiday live stream when some things will be revealed to us, and then we could maybe have you back on the show to talk about those things.
Maybe. Yeah, but I'm really excited for Squadron though, for sure.
So I guess we can take it that the Orion's your favorite ship then, because you said
yes,
that.
It is.
All right, why is that? Is like mining something you want to do? Have you tried mining in other space games like Elite Dangerous, or is it just like?
It just reminds me of like just the way it looks and feels. This is purely on a visual aspect, not mechanic wise. It just reminds me of the Nostromo. It reminds me of just like the old school alien ships, right? And it's just like
okay.
And I
was actually getting that vibe with the Reclaimer, not the Orion.
With the Reclaimer, yeah. I mean, Reclaimer is like second up there, like the visual aspect of it. But it just the Orion just looks so beastie, like right. It just looks gnarly, and it looks like it shouldn't be in space. It doesn't look like an aerial vehicle, Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Like it doesn't look like a gladius or a saber.
Exactly.
Right? It doesn't
Yeah,
look
it's
like
not
it can
made.
fly.
It doesn't look like it's made by Aegis, which is
Right.
Yeah.
So
building
and I
in
just love that
space, yeah.
aesthetic. And I was telling people in chat too multiple times, like I'll drive that shit sugar bottom everywhere.
Right.
Also, how do you feel about it being supersized now? After they actually realized that what they wanted to do is not gonna fit in the original metrics. Do you approve?
I'm glad. I just want it to be bigger. I just want everything to be bigger.
That's what she said.
Yeah. I want everything to be humongous.
Humongous what? Anyway,
Ins-
moving on.
Oh my goodness.
Moving on.
Isn't that from that video?
It is from that video. Yeah, I was wondering if you're gonna pick up on that.
Yeah.
So
I
right,
love
so-
the Orion as well. And when the first concept was released, and you had the there was just a small video, basically on when you still release stuff on Vimeo, and there was just a short animation of it of the little
The thing spinning,
containers
yeah.
rotating and moving
Yeah, yeah.
forward. I put that to music from Tron Legacy from the rectifier thing. It's going dun 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 that music, and it works so good. You know, because it was just so menacingly moving very slowly
Yeah.
towards you, and it was like, yes, want it. I don't know if I'll get it because I already
I'm
have so
getting
many
it.
ships, but
I am definitely.
I can definitely appreciate it. I will gladly crew for you if you'll have me.
No, it's a single.
It's a
seater.
single
Single-seater Orion. This is my
Single
space
seater
domain.
Orion. It's mine. Like remember the Anvil Hornet commercial? Honey, I bought the ice cream. That's what I'm gonna do, but with the Orion.
Yeah,
Is what
honey, honey, I just might mine 100,000 container
creams.
units of ice cream. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna mine ships with that thing.
You know, I mean, like, I kind of wish that would be the case. You can use a mining laser to, like, do damage to another ship, and this is, like, purely speculation, and you can't say yes or no because you can't. And, but like, I'd love for you to be able to use a mining ship to actually deal damage to something.
I
A
think you
ship the
would.
size of an Orion should be able to just, like, turn somebody into ore if it wanted to.
I would say I would like that too. Personally.
Well, if
Personally.
the reclaimer can do that, I'm sure, you know. Well, this is only speculative, but the mechanics for turning scrap ships into materials would be stupid for those mechanics, you know, for turning ore into minerals, for those two to not be at least on the basic level connected, built on the same technology.
Mm-hmm.
So, if somebody accidentally parks their Gladius in front of an Orion, you know, maybe Orion flavored ice cream will come out the other side. I mean, Gladius flavored ice cream. No. Anyway, moving on.
So I think that's all the questions we had slated for you in Star Citizen. But I have one question for you for those, you know, aspiring character concept artists out there in chat and on YouTube.
Cheers.
Do you have any words of advice for anyone out there who is interested in the same career as you in video games or the like?
Get good. I'm just kidding.
Get good.
Any advice to get in the industry or
To get in the industry to basically further themselves as an artist. You mentioned before that building a portfolio is a very important thing. But
Yes.
so like let's say little Jimmy is 12 years old and he wants to make Xi'an when he's older. What should little Jimmy do? You know, like what should he do? What should he do in school? What should he do when he's older? You know, like that kind of thing.
I don't want to sound corny, but it is true. I would just say don't stop. This is when you stop, that's when your career ends, or your chance of getting into that career ends, is when you stop. It's because if you decide what you want to do in your future, right, and you just keep having that desire and you keep striving for that desire, the paths will open up, right? And like you will see what, without people telling you, you will know what you need to do, right? What you need to get better at. And a lot of artists, they might not be trained visually in the eyes, but they know what parts they're lacking in, right? And it's just when you stop, is when you most of the time don't make it in this career. Because I know somebody who wants to break in the industry, and he's a decent artist, but he needs a lot of work. And I keep in communications with him, and just recently I gave him an opportunity to work for another client, but because he was tied to other things, he was like, "Oh, I can't do that job," right? And it was for a video game company. It was like a short, like maybe 4-month project, but that was one way to get in the industry. But he said no because he had to do other things, right? And so it's for him. It was he stopped earlier on and he picked up another job that's not related, and because of that, it stopped him from actually doing what he wants to do. So especially when you're young, I would just say, just keep going and don't stop drawing, right? And really aim for, like people say, shoot for the stars, but it's not really the stars. It's really just the ceiling, right? You just need to go for it, and you can touch it eventually. How long it takes,
unless it's Star Citizen, because there's no skybox. It's literally
it's
the
basically
stars.
yeah. But it's just like it's if you want to break in, you just really have to be vigilant and be and you will meet people who are like-minded like you, and will assist you and will help you, and you will grow and you'll pick up things, and then eventually you'll be at a spot where you want to be. It's just the don't stop would be I think something that I wish I was given that type of advice, because there was a time for 2 years I didn't do art because I was burnt out, and I was just like, I'm not getting anywhere. So I worked so I did customer service for about, not 2 years, about a year or so. And then I got back. I was like, this is not what I want to do. And so I actually worked for Abercrombie and Fitch for an hour. No, not for an hour, for a year. And I was given the opportunity to become a district manager for the stores. But then I was just like, I turned it down. I was like, this is not what I want to do. And so
do you ever think about what could have been?
Yeah, I would have been
An Abercrombie model / manager. Model manager.
Yeah. There are some pictures of me working at Abercrombie, but this was like 60 pounds ago. But yeah, I would definitely not be working on Star Citizen if that was the case. I'd be like probably working with sales and stuff like that, and just completely not what I want to do.
Right.
So. I don't think that anything you could have come up with would have sounded more boring than sales or customer service.
The thing is, like, I was fortunate enough to meet another person shortly after when I quit that company that brought me back in. It took me about 2 weeks to get back in the groove of it, but I was fortunate enough to meet one person. It really helped.
It's almost like you've come full circle, to be honest, because you've gone from working for a clothing store to designing clothes.
To designing clothes.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, this is true. This is true. Yeah, this is true.
All right, and I think that before we end this final this segment of the show, we have one final quick question, which is Picard or Obi-Wan?
Ooh.
Tick tock, number one.
I have to say Obi-Wan.
Damn it, Wesley.
I have to say Obi-Wan.
Why, though?
Why?
Because he's got the Force.
Ooh.
Nobody in Star Trek has the Force.
Wesley does.
Q kind of does.
No, but he doesn't have these are not the droids you're looking for. And he can't push people.
This is not the El Grey I ordered.
Yeah, exactly. So on the power level wise, I'd go for Obi-Wan.
Fair enough.
And also, I think Obi-Wan is a lot a lot more sinister than you guys actually think.
Oh yeah.
Really?
So he's smart, yeah. He knew who Luke Skywalker was, but didn't say Jack Sugarbottoms till he was like, what, 16? No, he's sinister. He's evil in his own way.
That's
And
an
so
interesting
I think he's got
thing
more
on
depth,
it.
personally.
But yes, and anyway, to wrap up, I'm very bad at these. I'm very bad at outros and intros. I mean, you would think that after doing this podcast for how many years now?
How many episodes is this now, Dodge?
It's getting close to 100, but I'm not a natural at this apparently. To wrap it up, do you have an online presence? Like, what times or where can we find you for your? What?
What?
Nothing. Yes, everybody is going cookie on this show apparently. Where can we find you? Jesus Christ. Okay, fine. You two do that, and I'll just go that way. I suppose. Yeah.
Yes.
I really should have brought
Podcasting.
alcohol. I really
What
should
was
have
the
brought
question again?
No, I'm not doing it this time. I'm not doing it the third time.
Jaylee, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me at I have a Twitters. It's where I post a lot of stuffs. Twitter.com/Jaylee_art. But if you want to see me like actual in camera stuff, you can see me at twitch.tv/Jaylee. I repeat, twitch.tv. Jaylee.
Dot Jaylee.
No, not without the dot.
/Jaylee, that one.
Yeah, forward slash. So yeah. Twitch.tv.
Oh man. Jaylee, man, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a freaking pleasure, dude.
No problem.
All right, so I guess you did the intro. You can also do the outro as well, Jaylee. You play us off. Jared,
This has been the Fortnightly Frontier. The Fortnightly Frontier.
and we'll see you
Around the verse.